Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to ZeroGrade Talks. My guest today is Justin Hole, Chief Executive Officer of AIUK, and mindful to say, my line manager. He is a consultancy pioneering human-centered AI integration across industries from healthcare and manufacturing to retail and telecoms. With more than 30 years in executive leadership roles across corporate, charitable, and technology sectors, Justin brings a rare blend of strategic insight, motor clarity, and operational excellence. So he is the creator of the core leadership branding model and the CAW Model, frameworks that empower leaders to navigate disruption with conviction, agency, and alignment. Justin's philosophy, known as AI coaching, reframes consultancy by putting people, not technology, at the center of transformation. So he is a visionary, strategist, and identity-led coach who believes that AI should amplify human ingenuity rather than replace it. Justin, welcome to ZeroGrade Talks. I can't wait to explore your mission of building a future where leadership remains recognizably human, ethically grounded, and strategically future fit, which is I know it's a very big and difficult mix, and it really requires talent. So with 30 plus years across corporate, charitable, and tech sectors, what moments shaped your view of leadership most?
Well, firstly, thank you very much for the opportunity to be with you. It's a real great pleasure to spend some time. So what is it that has shaped me as an individual? I think, to be really blunt and open, I'm a man of a deep spiritual conviction. I come from a Christian background and in fact, started my professional career, if you want to call it that, as an ordained minister. So I spent 20, 25 years pastoring and involved in church planting and in missionary work. And so to be quite honest, that which has really, and to this day, is a founding element in all that I do is the fundamental principle of stewardship. And what I mean by that is that we are basically responsible for the gifts, talents, abilities, and resources that have been given to us. And we have a responsibility to serve our God and to serve our fellow man in a way that really brings honor to God and really are a tremendous benefit to our fellow man. So that for me is a real driving force. Whatever I do, I endeavor to do with excellence in a way that will benefit those around about me and further the purposes of God.
This is amazing to hear, Justin. And I think Christian communities are blessed with the concept of stewardship because it opens the door for both like acceptance of what you're given, plus the, the ambitious outset to go ahead and use your talents and bring more to it and make it fruitful, And this is what we need, I think, in the corporate world, what we need in the professional field as well, that people, are safe enough, have the safe space to explore, to learn, to see what's around them and to use their talents. And I think this is what leadership is about, to give that space and to give that power for people to actually use what they have and bring forth the yield of their work. And this is really a rare balance. And we're really looking forward for more of that. I think a lot of companies, a lot of organizations are opening up for this because it brings in the balance of like the simplicity plus the complexity of doing something.
Absolutely. I think that the fundamental principle of leadership, in my understanding, is that a leadership is not a dictator. A leader is a servant. Yes. So you use your opportunities, you use your authority to be able to promote those around about you to develop the structures for the good of all.
Understood. Yeah, absolutely. I'm a big advocate of servant leadership, and it's really a big asset, whatever it is that is done properly. And I wanted to understand a bit more from you, Justin. Identity-led leadership. What does it mean, and why is it very critical in the AI era?
Great question. So just to sort of create a bit of a background, I wear a number of hats. One of them is obviously I have the tremendous privilege of being the CEO of AIUK, which is a truly spectacular AI consultancy that really is at the intersection of, in a sustainable manner, bringing AI technology into the business environment in a very, very unique way. So that's the one hat that I wear. The other hat is that I've had the privilege and the opportunity of being involved in the coaching world for a number of years, executive level coaching. And I've had the opportunity in partnership with a number of other coaching organizations to be exposed to international leaders from multinational conglomerate businesses. So I've really had the opportunity of dealing with people at a very top level from around the world, from an executive coaching perspective. And the organization that I have recently promoted and started is that of Synergistics Coaching. And Synergistics Coaching has specifically been born out of the vision of understanding that as we look at AI and the emergence and the development of AI in our modern world, AI as a technology is a spectacular technology. It is truly mind-boggling in its potential.
Yeah.
And that which it is producing is, once again, truly remarkable. And the challenge for a lot of senior level leaders is the metrics whereby they used to define success as a leader. AI is now able to do that, and in sometimes even better than those leaders. So the question that you need to ask yourself is, as AI continues to grow and to develop, what is it that differentiates me as a leader? What enables me to be able to authoritatively hold my ground, hold my position, and to be able to bring value into my specific remit if the machine is doing a lot of what I used to consider my role the same as me, at the same level as me rather, or better? And the one thing that humans bring that AI cannot bring is, and it's tied into that word, our humanness. So, in fact, what is fascinating as we see the emergence of AI technology and its growth into the business sector, we're realizing that it in many ways is empowering us to reconsider what it really means to be human. And one of the fundamental principles that is incumbent upon leadership in the new AI era is that they need to begin to brand themselves and position themselves based upon identity. If you are grounding your success upon metrics of producing certain results, AI is built to produce results. And if that is the only metric whereby you are defining yourself, then you are going to disappear in the noise of artificial algorithms and abilities. But if you are able to step out of that and say, as a human being, this is who I am. This is what my differentiating factors are. And based upon my identity, this is the value that I'm able to bring to my environment. That is the powerful differentiator that is going to really help leaders to rise above the clamor of artificial noise and to be consistent through the disruption of AI. So that is a long answer to a fairly short question as to why it is absolutely essential to have identity-driven leadership in the new AI dispensation.
This is really valuable. I really think about automation a lot and about people who think the roles could be just automated and they just like left out of a job, you know? And I mean, when I think about those roles and the automation that could be done, this is how I see it, okay? And please feel free to correct me and shape this because, you know, I see automation as an enabler. It could save time. It could help alleviate some repetitive tasks, but I don't see that it could really replace a whole role. And I mean, like when looking at the manufacturing industry back in the days when, you know, like manufacturing lines, maybe the number of workers reduced, but the jobs were reshaped and re-optimized for something that was easier and better and more productive and made the economy grow, you know? So, I mean, in the greater scheme of things, having identity-led leadership mindset helps people in their position to like look at the jobs, look at the technology and, you know, like really, I just want to say own it and learn about it and use it for their purpose.
Yep, absolutely. Well, I think sort of responding to what you've said there, I think that there are two elements, that I can respond to. The first is I think that I think a lot of folk don't have the philosophical skills really to begin to really define their identity outside of productivity. I think that in the modern worldview, success is defined by productivity, and that is from the
Yeah,
Industrial Revolution. That's an Industrial Revolution mindset.
correct.
And what's interesting is that coming from my perspective is, and the worldview that I have as a Christian is that my essential dignity and value doesn't rise out of what I'm able to produce. It rises out of the fact that I've been created by God. So the correct term, if you want to call it that, is the understanding of the imago Dei, or that I'm created in the image of God. That in and of itself gives value and differentiation to who I am as an individual. So I am precious not because of what I necessarily do, but
Sure.
I am precious because of who I am, namely a
Right.
created being of God. And I think that that gives a tremendous power to me as I engage with my world. So I think that a lot of people, so that's the first thing I need to say. The second thing, when it comes to the whole area of automation is going to result in the certain job and job functions being made obsolete. That is an absolute fact. Um, the disruptive nature of AI is going to be staggering. And so there are
Yeah.
many jobs that we take for granted now that are just not going to be here in the
Yeah.
next few years. That being said, AI, by its very evolutionary processes, is going to create millions of jobs that we can't possibly even imagine of right yet. And so, what is absolutely essential, I think, is to understand firstly who we are as individuals within this tumultuous time of change, so that we can navigate the storms and understand, based upon who we are, where we can best fit into the world, based upon tremendous opportunities that AI is going to create, and to navigate the difficulties of transitioning out of things that are no longer going to exist. But for me, I think what is central is understanding who I am within the midst of the cataclysmic disruptions that are going to be occurring as a result of AI.
Amazing. I can't agree more. And it's a great opportunity to snap and to actually use it for your own benefit. I love this, Justin. I want to understand a bit more from you about AI coaching and how
Mm.
it differs from traditional consulting.
Fantastic. Great question once again. One of the things that is the foundation of who AIUK is. Maybe it may take a step back so you understand how we positioned ourselves within the market. If you have a look at AI as a technology, it's sort of really, it's been around since the 1950s, really, I suppose you could say, but only really become front and center over the last 2 to 3 years with ChatGPT and the like. That has allowed the technology of AI to become available to the man in the street. And so as a result of that, it's really created tremendous possibilities for advancement and engagement. What we've found is that most consultancies or businesses, as they have responded to AI as a service provider, can generally be divided into two main groups. You would find those who we would call in-house the techie guys. These are those organizations who endeavor to bring through research and development processes a product to market. There are limitations to this specific model, namely, firstly, it costs a huge amount of money to bring something of quality and value to the market. We need to understand that today there are a huge avalanche of products that are being launched, and not all of them are very,
Right.
very good.
Yeah.
But if you want to produce something that is really going to produce change and is of value, it's going to cost a little bit of money. So we have the technical guys who produce a specific solution. The limitation is that it costs a lot of money to bring something to market generally. And secondly, you are limited in your value proposition to the market based upon the dimensions of the product that you're producing. So that's the first model. The second model is more of a consultancy-based model. And what I mean by that is that you, in your whole approach, you are consultative. So if you would fall into that, then you would generally see AI through a slightly wider lens. You'd see it through the eyes, perhaps, of HR and operations. So for you, AI is a cog in the machine. It's not its
Yeah.
entirety. Once again, painting with a very broad brush, and I'm sure that some people will be a bit irritated with the broad brush I'm using, but you'll find that the model, this kind of model, it has tremendous strengths. Namely, it really, those who are involved in this kind of model are very good at telling you who you are, what you need, and how you need to do it. But when it comes to actually giving you the products or the solutions that they're talking about, very often they don't have the skills or the ability to be able to produce those specific solutions. So that has to be farmed out to a third party, and there's a there's a breakdown in service. So those are the two kind of responses that generally have been available in regards to AI. You're either techie or you're consultative in approach. What we've done is we've taken a step back and we've asked ourselves one fundamental question, namely, what is the central need of businesses at this time when it comes to AI? And interesting enough, it's not the technology itself. AI is a phenomenal technology. nor is it necessarily the business model that you're using. They've been established for many, many years and they're doing exceptional work. The problem is the gap between the two. How do you bring an exploding technology into an established business environment in a way that really produces extremely high ROI for the
Yeah.
business? So that's what we do. That's what we focus on, the gap. Rather than being techie or consultative by definition, we're focusing on the gap. So we're more problem focused rather than solution oriented. I know that sounds strange now, but in order to facilitate the meeting of that problem, we've come up with three fundamental value propositions. The first is we're able to produce technical solutions from the ground up. So yes, we are very technically astute and we're able to produce what you need. The second is that we have a very strong coaching and consultancy arm. So that comes to your question shortly. But the coaching and the consultancy arm, what undergirds it is the philosophy that you cannot bring an emerging technology into an established business environment unless you understand the culture of that business.
Correct.
So we do not see ourselves as AI salespeople that are trying to ram a square peg into a round hole. We're not trying to make a quick deal. Yeah. So when we sit down with an incumbent client, we spend time with them, asking them fundamental questions. Who are you? Where are you going? What are you doing? What are your pain points? What are your dreams? What are your struggles? Trying to help them to understand who they are, where they want to go, and what they want to look like, what they want to achieve with AI. And once we've discovered that together, then an important phrase for us, let's co-develop an AI integration roadmap with you. So for us, what is AI coaching? The fundamental philosophy behind coaching is that you are not inductive, you are deductive. In other words, you do not lead, you help an individual to bring forth from themselves the solution, and you challenge and fine-tune those solutions so that they themselves are empowered. So bringing that over into the technical environment, we do not come in speaking a solution. We come in with 2 ears and 1 mouth. We come in to listen more than we speak. We come in seeking to understand rather than trying to push a solution. And then once we understand and we've allowed you to create the environment, then we sort of say, right, let's co-develop together. That's what coaching is all about. Creating together a solution that will be for the betterment of the coachee.
That's amazing, because you really stripped it down to the main dilemma or gap in the market that, many organizations are overwhelmed by the hype and they are just debating, shall we just forget about AI or just try to test AI or just use tools that are AI empowered? And what shall we do and what's in the market for us? And this is a big question that, if answered properly, will therefore ensure return on investment.
Indeed, absolutely. One of the things that we've discovered is that there are 5 fundamental questions that most businesses are asking when it comes to AI. If you have a look at top leadership, the decision makers, the C-suite leadership, they sort of generally asking the 5 following questions in some capacity. Firstly, what is AI?
Yeah.
Secondly, what solution, if any, should I bring into my business at this time? Thirdly, who do I trust? Fourthly, how do I do it? And then fifthly, is it going to break the bank? So those are the fundamental questions that virtually every business is asking. Drop it down a level to mid-management, and you'll find that mid-management is asking generally just one question, and that is, what on earth is AI? And the reason why they're asking it is because their bosses either said to them, listen, we've just bought AI, make it work, or do me a favor, everyone else is using AI, find out about it and find a solution and bring it in and make it work.
Yeah.
So their fundamental situation is, what is AI? But that's extrapolated out into 2 main areas for them. As a mid-management level leader, you're asking yourself, how do I help my team adopt AI? And how do I help my operations adapt to AI? So if there's going to be any kickback in any business, then it's probably going to be at the mid-management level, because a lot of the teams are turning around and sort of saying, I don't want to actually have AI brought into the business because it's going to take my job in 3 months' time. Or, why are we having to change things? Operations works absolutely fine and has done for the last 20 years.
Yeah.
So this is where our third value proposition comes in. I was speaking a little bit earlier about the ability to produce technological solutions, and then coaching and consultancy work. The third value proposition that we bring is that we are involved in training, education, and support of staff and leadership. So change management, that's vitally important. And that's why it's absolutely essential at this time that we be those who not only bring solutions, but help in the effectual transition of businesses from an holistic perspective to the adoption of AI.
Thank you so much, Justin. This is really an eye-opener, and it really empowers the audience to take steps, practical steps to learn more about what they need to do and what really fits their needs and solves problems. So would it be possible to share an example with us where AIUK helped organizations become AI ready?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So maybe just to explain before I share the specific example, there
Yeah.
are two fundamental principles that govern all that we do at AIUK. The first is that we believe in the demystification of AI. Our primary focus is on the SME market, on into the enterprise level. And to be quite honest, business leaders in this sector don't have time to try and figure out jargon. They are busy building their business. They're busy doing the work of whatever they're involved in. So they want a solution that is straight down the line, that they understand, and that is going to produce extremely high ROI for them. They don't have time to waste money or time, really. They're time poor, and they want to make the most of it. So for us, it's about really serving those whom we are endeavoring to interact with and using plain language in a way that will really make sense to them, meet their needs, and move them forward. So demystification of AI is vitally important for us. The second area is that of the democratization of AI. AI as a technology is extremely powerful. And because of that, we believe that it is absolutely essential that as many people and as many businesses have access to and employ AI as possible. Simply because we believe that if it's in the hands of a few, that's not good for the many. So we try and bring AI into as many environments as we possibly can. That means that we work with multinationals, with governmental organizations, as well as all the way down to charity organizations and nonprofit organizations. So with that in mind, the example that I'd like to use is of a charity sector or charity organization that was specifically involved in the area of working with families that were in crisis or that are in crisis. And their primary responsibility was to come alongside the family, to be able to assess the family, to assess the safety of the members of the family, whether it be the children or the partners, and then to be able to provide support, whether it be through social workers or the engagement of other policing forces, whatever it might be, to support the structure of the family and to protect the individual members of the family. Obviously, as you can imagine, such an organization would be under significant scrutiny. It would be, sector would obviously be very, very highly controlled.
Yeah.
Correct. That's the term I was trying to figure out, that they're regulated. So within that capacity, because they were seeking to be compliant across all terms, they were caught up in paperwork, huge amounts of paperwork, continually wading through, which to a large degree robbed them of the time to interact with the clients that they were seeking to serve. So what we basically did is that we looked at their whole operations and we streamlined their operations, automated their operations, made sure that they were far more GDPR compliant and robust so that everyone was thoroughly protected. It created a far quicker response to those that were in need from the family perspective. They were immediately in contact with the support structures, and the support structures were updated. And what they basically did is it created a far higher caliber of service for the end user, as well as freeing up the team and the business to really get involved with the clients and produce a far greater service for them. So that for me was a real joy, that we use the processes of automation, streamlining of data and the extrapolation of data in a way to protect people and to free people that were caught up in mundane, repetitive tasks of administrative work, free them up to really engage with people. So one of the sayings that we passionately pursue is that we are passionately committed to the growth of technology and to the implementation and the use of technology so that we can free people up so that they can truly be more human and go back to old school values of interacting and building a true culture of value. So this for us was a real joy, using technology for the common good and for the good of those people who really needed humans to interact with them.
Absolutely, absolutely. It is meant to have the human in the loop all the time.
Absolutely. And you raise an important issue that I hope you don't mind me jumping in. But
Yeah,
for us, we believe, especially in highly regulated environments, it is absolutely essential that humans be the people that tick the box
yeah.
and give the authorization. Certain systems in highly regulated environments need to have humans involved in the final decision making processes. That is absolutely essential.
Thank you for this strong example because it really demonstrates many angles of regulations, which is a big topic about AI now, explainability of AI and the adoption of AI for value generation. And I mean, we've spoken about a few things, but I want to ask maybe explicitly about a misconception that is out there in the market about AI adoption and that we can retire forever, you know? So what is the first thing that comes to your mind about that?
Well, look, there is a school of thought that AI is going to completely revolutionize. It is going to be completely, but revolutionize it to such a degree that there literally is going to be no jobs, and there's going to have to be a universal
Yeah,
credit where we're not going to be able to work, or there's going to be very few jobs available, and that we're all going to be able to retire.
yeah,
Look, it has the ability to really impact and will impact society and how we live in the most mind-boggling ways. But I don't think at this stage that we're all going to be out of a job. I think it's going to recreate how we live and how we do work. But I do always think that there are going to be tremendous opportunities for engagement and for humans to explore their humanity and how they interact with their world.
yes, I do agree, Justin. Thank you for bringing this insight forward and clearly for our audience to contemplate on. So I would like to ask you, Ved, a jump to the core leadership
Yeah,
branding model, and I
yeah.
want to ask you about how does it help leaders thrive in disruption?
So, synergistics coaching, we've developed two main models, and these models are grounded in psychological thinking and training. We've tried to make them as robust as possible. They've been assessed by some top class guys. I have a colleague and a mentor who has a double doctorate in neuroscience and in psychology. And he is thoroughly convinced that this is a really robust course that is grounded in adult education, in adult learning, and in psychology and psychological principles, as well as neuroscience principles, to really give something that is of value to the future leader and the present leader in today's world. So what we've done is we've developed these two main models, the core model and the CAW model, or the core model.
Yeah,
And what the core model is, the CORE model is, that focuses primarily on how to help people to brand themselves so that they really understand who they are and how to grow within the context of that identity. So there are a number of workbooks that we've created. So the way that people, what will basically work out is that you will choose a workbook and you work through that workbook in your own time. The thing about for example, the first workbook that we do is called the IET, which is the basically deals with 40 robust questions that help you to um, interact with your understanding of who you are. This isn't a tick box exercise and putting you into a pigeonhole and saying this is who you are. This is an exercise where you are encouraged to interact with your understanding of yourself. So we deal with 5 fundamental areas of personality development, and we build those up and we encourage you to investigate those with us. So the IET would help you through that, and that basically lays a foundation of who you are, the essence of who you are. Then the second course deals with developing a professional persona.
yeah,
And the persona doesn't is not an external mask that you wear. It is rather an extrapolation of your identity into a professional environment. And this is vitally important because it creates sustainability and it creates authority. Authority flows from identity. And
yeah,
then once we have the public persona, if you want to call it that, we then begin to develop an elevator pitch. In other words, based upon who I am and how I appear in public, how do I make sure that how I sound and the message that I bring is consistent across all platforms and in all environments. How do I do that authoritatively? And I think that the one thing that the world is looking for is consistency of message and substance in message. For the last 20 to 25 years, maybe 30 years, there has been a gradual disintegration of trust in authority. Most people today have no trust in any authority structures, or very little trust in many authority structures. And that is from across the board, from churches through to governments.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, AI, through the development of its ability to mimic human beings, that you have post generation, you have video generation, fake videos, if you want to call it that. A lot of people are sort of saying, can I even trust what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing? So what the synergistics coaching does is it says, right, understand who you are, understand how you're going to appear in public, and then develop a voice that is clear, authoritative, grounded in who you are, and is consistent. That creates trust. And then the final element is the whole area of how do you actually become iconic? In other words, when people look at you, iconic by definition is the ability to, when you look at it, something iconic, you just automatically know what it stands for, what it is. And so how do we bring everything together so that we become iconic? So that when we enter into a room, people know who we are, know what we stand for, know our position. And that's the goal of synergistic coaching. Very, very robust, grounded in good skills and good technology and good learning outcomes, to create a very, very robust set of skills that will really enable you to understand your identity and position yourself. So that's the whole area of branding. And then from that, we then, in the second model, which is the CAW, we look at, once again, four main areas on how to extrapolate who you are into your business environment in a way that enables you to really produce or leverage your identity to produce benefit both for yourself, your career, and those around about you. So it's branding and it's positioning. And this is vitally important in today's world. If people want to make a difference, they need to understand who they are, how they appear in public, how they can speak in public to stand out, and then to consistently do that across all platforms so that they develop trust and authority in who they are.
Amazing. I am actually inspired, and I will be exploring this myself because I think we all need that. And I think the fragmented messaging that is thrown at us, correct, it did create a synergy, and you're right, trust has been broken many times between authoritative, entities and the public in general. We are really seeing a lot of messages, curated messages and stuff like that, that rather than comfort us, it really disrupts the flow of life. And if we are conscious of who we are and what we stand for or our values, so whatever is thrown at us is being absorbed in the right way and does not create an effect that we don't want, that we don't desire. And I love this. I will definitely be exploring this myself. And it is it is a very valuable branding model or tool that I think anyone would love to explore. And just to hone on this, there were a lot of assessment tools, or let's say the personality identification tests and stuff like that over the years. And one of the very famous ones is Myers-Briggs. And there are some of them that, there are mixed opinions about tools and everything, but if a tool is really helping me to dwell on who I am really and help me kind of create the presence, so it really relieves a lot of burden, because we have many, let's say, roles that we adopt in our lives, in our homes, in our workplace, in our communities, and we do our best to provide for all of it. But, with the world changing and the environment surroundings are changing, it was a difficult task to navigate this, I would say, even from personal experience. And it is something that if we really have a solution for it, that's amazing. And I see this model, this tool as a tool because it looks at conviction, at agency, alignment, and witness. So I think all of these are very powerful words that create an identity in our lives and help us. Quickly, on the AI aspect, about AI, how could it amplify rather than replace our human ingenuity, like you said? And how do we make sure that this actually happens, in our
Mm,
daily lives?
Great question. I think one of the things that we need to understand about AI, and this may sound a bit strange to a lot of people, is that AI at its very core doesn't have the ability to create.
Yeah,
What it does is it literally has the ability to reproduce and recreate. So
yeah,
there's a big difference from create and recreate. So when it comes to the human being, AI has been created in the image of humanity. And if you have a look at the at humans generally, there are two sides to us, that we are beautiful. As human beings, we are truly extraordinary, beautiful creations. We have potential for such wonder, creativity, and the bringing of life. On the other hand, we have an ability to destroy, and we can be wicked to the nth degree. So, very often, there's an expression that is well known that money is the root of all evil. But if you have a look at that, that actually comes from the Bible. And the truth be told is that that's an incorrect quote. It's not money that's the root of all evil. It's the love of money that is the root of all evil. So I think that very often when we look at AI, we sort of think that AI is evil. No, it's not. It's how we choose to use it, fashion it, and build it that is going to determine whether it becomes truly destructive or one of the most wonderful inventions and creations of mankind. And not only that, not only on a corporate level, if you want to call it that, but also on an individual level. So we need to decide when we sort of say, how does that amplify our personal abilities, both from a business perspective and even in a personal perspective? One of the things that we need to decide is, am I going to use AI to leverage my dreams and passions and desires? And am I going to learn how to do that? I think it's making a decision. The question was, how does this actually help us? Or how does AI help us amplify? The first thing is that we need to make a positive decision to meaningfully interact with AI. That's the first thing. And this is not only on a personal level, but on a corporate level, a business level. What's interesting is if you have a look at some of the statistics, specifically in the UK, there's a very strong push from government down to cause the UK to be one of the most desirable destinations for the creation of AI in the world, or the investment of AI in the world. And there really is a strong push from government in the areas of education and training and the development of infrastructure to do that. But if you have a look at the statistics that talk about the level at which SMEs are engaging with AI, they are abysmally low. And when we talk about engaging with AI in a meaningful way, we're talking about more than using AI to write my emails.
mm,
When you use ChatGPT or Copilot or whatever it might be to write your emails, that's wonderful, but that's not really meaningfully engaging on it
yeah.
with it in a business environment. So the first thing that needs to happen is, if we want AI to help us to leverage our potential, let's make a decision to really seriously engage with it and its possible potentials. I think that is absolutely essential. And then when it comes to how do we make it work for our good, make a decision to clarify your own dreams and passions or goals from an objective perspective in the business environment, and use it to achieve those goals. That's absolutely essential.
Ama-
Fundamental, make a decision to engage.
Amazing. So let's name one pressing ethical risk that you might see right now.
I think for us, it would probably be the whole area of privacy.
Okay.
Let's have a look at ChatGPT 5 or ChatGPT 6 that's
Yeah.
shortly coming out. So we know that the general um, consensus on ChatGPT 5 is that it hasn't been as favorable as the creators were hoping, simply because they were sort of saying that it wasn't as friendly or warm or interactive as previous models. So they're now immediately bringing out ChatGPT 6, or as quickly as they possibly can, which means, and they're going to be pushing very strongly on it being far more interactive, warm, and personalized. The only caveat to that wonderful creation is that ChatGPT 6 is going to have to store all of your personal data, which means that is going to really create some privacy concerns for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Not only that, but from a legislative perspective, there is no protection on the storing of that data. In other words, the legal system or whoever can demand access to all of those records, and you have no protection. So that is a major problem. How do we
There is.
develop the interactive ability of AI whilst at the same time guarding the privacy and the security of individuals or businesses' information? So that is definitely a major area of concern. And I think that what is interesting to see is some of the developments that have been happening at a government level as an extrapolation of this sort of concept. I know that I think it's Norway, I stand under correction, that it just brought in a law that has basically given people rights over their identity, which means that it becomes illegal for AI entities to use people's faces, voices, or anything that they have produced from themselves without their permission. So we now have copyright over your looks and over your voice. And to be quite honest, I think that is an interesting take on privacy and the need to protect it, even down to our essential identity and how we look. So for me, that would be a major concern, and not only a concern, but a major struggle that I think that AI is going to face. What do we do with information? This is why AI needs to be in the hands of as many people as possible, and we need to have as many people speaking into this issue so that huge amounts of information are not held in the hands of the few, because that becomes very, very dangerous.
Amazing. I mean, we're living in very interesting times and many scenarios that we wouldn't have imagined. And I think I've heard Sam Altman saying that do not share your health data with AI, with ChatGPT. Do not share your personal mental health issues, personal plans, because all of these are data that could be sold or repurposed for third parties, such as insurance companies and entities out there. And I think this have been a revenue generation machine for many social media platforms, let alone Facebook, which is really, I mean, Meta is really valued at billions now. And I mean, the amount of investment they're putting out, it is even higher than the AI companies existing, more than OpenAI, more than Anthropic. So if you look at the investments they're putting out, I think Meta is putting 600 billion into the US economy alone, compared to Microsoft is putting out like 70 or 80 billion. So the gap and the monetization between the tech providers and social media platforms is massive. It's a big gap. One trivia is that if something is free, then you are the product. You know, it's,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Great point there. Yeah.
that's amazing. I think those are the really powerful nuggets for our audience and the message, the insights we're looking at. Let's help leaders build more clarity. And there is tough decision making to be made in the shadow of AI, right?
Indeed.
So how could we empower leaders to build the more clarity around decision making?
Well, I think rather than looking to the machine first, we need to look to ourselves. To be quite honest, who are we? What is our moral framework? And to be quite honest, how is that moral framework being realized within the business environment that have authority over? And then we turn to the machine and we sort of say, right, based upon that, how do we now line up AI with who we are? Unless AI lines up with us, it's never going to be sustainable, any moral context that we bring into it. Because at the end of the day, AI is a creation of man, and what we put into it will come out of it. So we need to look at ourselves first before we look to how to create a context for the machine. That would be my personal conviction. I think that humanity needs to take a very strong, clear, hard look at the worldviews that we are now choosing to build our moral frameworks on in the West, and then have a look at the ramifications for that, not only from a socio-political perspective, but also from a technological perspective. If it doesn't flow from a personal, clear moral framework that is then extrapolated out into society, then we can't expect us to in any way create structures that are going to really push through from an AI perspective. That being said, I do believe that we need to become far more involved, and it's going to require a lot of thinking, far more involved in developing processes at a governmental level to not control, that's a wrong word, to guide the implementation and the use of AI, and not only from a governmental level, but in every sphere and sector. We need the philosophers, we need the dreamers, we need the people who are the thinkers, to begin to sit down and to begin to speak out into these areas. So how we can interact with perhaps one of the greatest creations that humankind has ever brought into existence.
Amazing. I know we've chatted for a while now, but let's just hone on two more points. And I don't wish for the conversation to come to an end, but we definitely are mindful of your time. So where would you see AI creating more positive near-term impact? Let's say maybe healthcare, manufacturing, retail, telecoms. There are many industries out there. So where would you see that AI would create the most?
Yeah, it's been wonderful to see the advancements that AI has brought into the areas of science, whether it be medical science or more pure science, if you want to call it that. From a medical perspective, the generation of cures,
Yeah.
being able to develop processes that identify diseases a lot earlier and a lot quicker, a lot more accurately. So from a healthcare perspective, I think that the advancements that AI is bringing are truly remarkable and for the benefit of mankind. I think from a science perspective, the creation of opportunities, or rather solutions, it's amazing how AI is pushing the boundaries in science in the most wonderful, wonderful ways. So I think that these are definitely ways that we're going to be seeing AI really growing into its own, if you want to call it that. But even sort of from a more local perspective, from in the retail sector, I think using AI to help make the interaction with the client or the end user more interactive, more personalized, far more quick. These are things that I think that businesses need to realize that they need to use AI in their marketing strategies, because people are going to be getting used to far more personalized and far quicker responses to personalized desires. And if businesses are not using AI, they're going to struggle in this area. But the benefit is really being able to give people what they want and what they feel that they need.
Yeah.
Beyond that, having a look at the whole area of automation. Automation is massive. And
It
as we
is.
made mention of earlier, I think that the opportunities to free people up from the mundanity of repetitive administrative tasks is going to be massive. And then the real joy comes in, what are we going to do with all this extra time?
Yeah.
And we need to be creative and adventurous in the use thereof, so that we can really begin to build and grow and develop as businesses. So these are just a few of the areas, but AI is going to touch every area of our life. And I trust that it's going to bring good into all of them.
And one last thing, are there any leadership blind spots that need to be addressed while we're scaling AI responsibly?
Yeah, sure. Look, I think if we go to a macro level, the
Yeah.
greatest, I wouldn't even call it a blind spot, but the greatest danger is greed. In other words, putting technological advancement above safety. There has been a continual call from some sectors to slow down or even to stop with the development of AI, simply because we haven't really understood the ramifications of this technology that we are creating, the moral repercussions. So I think that there is, because big tech and governments now understand the power of AI, at the risk of safety, they are pushing to be the ones who control the world. And I
Yeah,
think that this is the greatest danger for us all,
absolutely.
that I want to rule no matter the cost.
Yeah,
And the cost may be dire.
absolutely. And I think it's also a circular motion, rather, that we all live in the same close circle of life. And the impact sadly comes back over to hit all the society and everything we touch on daily basis. We just don't have the passionate minds to do the math of how things come back to hit some spots. So this is actually one of the big risks and one of the things that we need to look for and be mindful of. And can I ask you for one practical step that a leader could take this week to move towards AI readiness?
Sure. I think it goes back to what I shared a little while ago, that we need to make the quality decision to interact with AI. We live in probably the best time in all of history. We have access to the wealth of the cumulative knowledge of humanity literally at our fingertips. And we now have the opportunity to extrapolate that in a way that is meaningful for us. AI is perhaps the greatest tool that has ever been created to allow information to be personalized. And so we need to make a decision to interact with that technology so that all of the wealth of the information and the knowledge that is available to us can become ours. We need to make a decision to learn.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Justin, for your time today and for being with us on ZeroGrade Talks. It's been an amazing, inspiring chat. Really appreciate your time today.
Absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure. Thank you for the opportunity.